Hello and welcome to another video by jmadden184. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. I've been getting a lot of requests of people asking me what kind of equipment are you using on your system. More specifically, what do I use for filtration and what do I use for lighting. I'm going to go ahead and try and do a really quick overview here of all of my equipment for those of you that have questions about it. Let's go ahead and we'll kick it off. Okay, first of all, one of the big questions I've been getting is, what kind of lighting do you use? Well, I'll go ahead and just come up here real quick and show you. Yeah, my tank in all the other videos, it kind of looks like I just have like a black hood, but it's really just like the frame here. And inside of it I have a T5 fixture. This is the fixture by Aquatic Life, the 4 bulb version. As far as the bulbs that I'm using, I'm currently using the Coral Plus and the Blue Plus from ATI. I'm using 2 of each. The Blue Plus work really well in replacing the actinics, and the Coral Plus replace the whiter lights that come with the fixture. And if you have this fixture, I highly recommend replacing your bulbs with Geisman, which I've used in the past, or with ATI. With ATI, I find you get a lot better par than you do with other bulbs. More specifically, way better than the bulbs that come stock with the fixture. As far as flow in the tank, I'm using this right here. Those of you that have been around the block a little bit know about these pumps. This is the Vortec MP10. I have 2 of them. You can see the other one way down there at the end. For flow in my system, my tank is 4 feet long, and these 2 pumps do an amazing job of randomizing the water flow in my system. Some of you have been asking me what kind of setting do you use. The setting that I'm currently using is the nutrient transport mode, which is the mode where you set up your own wave and it gets automatically dropped into the program. So you get the wave in the tank that you see here on the surface going back and forth, and then throughout the program it'll randomly shut off and give you flow from both of the pumps. The pumps that I'm using are the wireless versions, so they are able to communicate with each other via Wi-Fi, so that's really cool. Next up, another piece of equipment that I highly recommend is this here. I'm using the JBJ Auto Top Off along with a Aqua Lifter pump. I chose the JBJ Auto Top Off after experimenting with the Tunzi osmolator. The Tunzi osmolator was great. I didn't have any real complaints about it, except for the sump that I was using it in, and the pump that I was using would cause the water to rise too quick, and the optical sensor would get submerged and the pump would get stuck on. So for my application, I decided to go with the JBJ Auto Top Off. It's really simple. You get, with this setup, you got the I don't know if you can see it here. Yeah, there's a little float switch in there. So if the water gets too low in the reservoir here of RODI, the little pump won't burn itself out. But you really don't have that issue with non-submersible pumps. So anyway, moving on. Another piece of equipment that I use that I also highly recommend if you're like me and you have temperature issues with your system because you're running tons and tons of pumps. This is the JBJ Arctica chiller. This is the 1/4 horsepower chiller I'm using on my system. Works really well. I'm feeding it with a Mag 7 and it's doing a really good job of maintaining my temperature. It usually hovers right here, right around 78, 77 degrees or so, and it's been doing an excellent job of maintaining my water temperature. And for those of you that have been following along, you can really see the difference in the color of the corals when the temperature is maintained around a constant. So So there you go, there's the benefits. You see it all here, looking great. So moving on to the next portion of my equipment. This is the heart of my system down here. Here's the skimmer that I use. The skimmer that I'm using is the AquaSea EV180. Currently it's not producing because I just fed the tank about 10 minutes ago before I started making this video. And as you can see, the skimmer's pretty big for my system. It's rated for almost triple my water volume, and that's really good, especially if you're doing heavy feeding on your system. And this AquaSea EV180 is being fed via a mag 9.5 that you can see down there, which actually is needing a pretty good cleaning, but it's still working fine. I clean my pumps every 3 months or so to remove all the excess calcium buildup in the form of coralline algae. Over here, the next section of my sump is my refugium. Inside my refugium, as you can see here, it's packed full. I haven't done any harvesting for quite some time, but you can see here I'm using a species of Caulerpa, and I'm also using the Catamorpha, or the spaghetti algae as it's referred to by some hobbyists. And all of this is illuminated by a macro glow light. This is the 15-watt version, and it does a great job, and it doesn't require much power to run it. Also, you'll notice inside of my refugium I'm not running any substrate. This was a choice that I made after previously using substrates in a refugium, and for me this works out just fine. I don't need the added sand because in my main display I do have a deep sand bed, as you can see, which is very mature and very healthy. As you can see, all the little raceways from all the little worms, everything else that climbs through there. If I can focus it for you, yeah, there you go. You can see all the little tunnels and all the nitrogen gas bubbles there completing the nitrogen cycle, breaking down the nitrates. And the deep sand bed is really an integral part of my filtration system. While not everybody uses it, it works really well for me. So moving on over here, in this little in-between chamber here, I'm using ChemiPure Elite. I have 2 bags of it, and this helps polish my water, and the Elite also contains a product that helps remove phosphates as well. And over here in the final chamber, what I have down here is I have my return pump, which is a mag 9.5 that returns to the display, and I also have a small MaxiJet 1200 that feeds my media reactor over here. And this media reactor is the 2 little fishies, 150, and I'm currently using ROFOS inside of it, which is filled about halfway, and it's opened about 3/4 of the way for the flow, which keeps the media tumbling, as you can see. One of the other small little pieces of equipment that I use that I highly recommend for those of you that have a submerged return. As you can see here, my return is up here in the right corner, and if you have a power failure, I highly recommend something like this. This is a check valve. As you can see, as the water is flowing through it, it's pushing up this little flap inside here, and when the pump kicks off, that flap just comes down and it prevents water from siphoning back into the sump. Now, as you can tell from my tank, one of the things I do not have is a Reef ready tank, and in order for me to get water down to my sump, I went ahead and I got a hang on back overflow. And the hang on the back overflow which I chose was the CPR CS90, I do believe, yes, and it's rated up to 600 gallons per hour, and it works really well. One of the benefits and one of the reasons why I chose this particular overflow was this right here. Come up here and I'll show you. It actually has a little nozzle here, and it comes with an aqua lifter pump, and it basically creates a suction within this portion of it. So if you do lose power and you're not home and your system kicks back on, your tank doesn't flood. It just basically creates the siphon automatically for you. And I've tested this numerous times, shutting down complete power to my system and repowering it up, and I have no issues with flooding whatsoever. So that's going to go ahead and conclude the video of me talking about all the different pieces of equipment that I use in my system and the reasons for using it. If you guys have any other questions or comments or concerns, I'd be more than happy to help you out. Just shoot me a message down in the comments, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. That's going to conclude this video. Thanks for watching, and as always, enjoy your tanks.